The ongoing trade tensions between China and the United States have entered a new and unexpected battleground, the skies. In a bold move, the Chinese government has reportedly ordered its domestic airlines to halt acceptance of Boeing aircraft and U.S.-manufactured aircraft parts. This directive, aimed squarely at America's aviation giant, comes as a retaliatory response to President Trump's aggressive tariff policies. According to sources cited by Bloomberg, the Chinese authorities have instructed their airlines not only to suspend deliveries of Boeing aircraft, but also to stop purchasing related parts and equipment from U.S. companies. The move signals a deepening rift in U.S.-China relations, now extending beyond trade and into the core of global aviation. The escalation came just after China's announcement on April 11th that it would impose a massive 125% retaliatory tariff on U.S. goods. This tariff is expected to more than double the price of American-made aircraft and their components, effectively pricing Boeing out of one of its most important international markets. Yet, despite this aggressive stance, Chinese airlines still operate hundreds of Boeing jets, many of which require regular maintenance, part replacements, and technical support. These existing aircraft now face an uncertain future, as sourcing essential parts becomes significantly more difficult and expensive. Currently, Boeing has about 10 737 MAX aircraft awaiting delivery to Chinese airlines. Among them, China Southern Airlines, Air China, and Xiamen Airlines each had 2 planes scheduled. Some of these aircraft have already arrived in China and are being housed at a maintenance facility in Zhoushan, Zhejiang Province. Because these deliveries were completed and paid for before the retaliatory tariff announcement, they may be processed under special exemptions or reviewed on a case-by-case basis. Still, a backlog of undelivered aircraft looms large. Boeing was expected to supply China Southern, Air China, and China Eastern with 81, 45, and 53 new aircraft, respectively, between 2025 and 2027. These future deliveries are now hanging in the balance. The impact of the trade war is already being felt on the ground. China Southern Airlines recently halted the planned sale of 2 used Boeing 787-8s. According to Bloomberg, the airline had hoped to replace these older aircraft with larger, more modern jets to expand its long-haul capacity. However, the abrupt tariff increase threw a wrench into those plans. On April 11th, the same day the new tariffs were announced, China Southern notified the Shanghai United Assets and Equity Exchange that the aircraft sale had been suspended due to unspecified events. Many speculate these events were directly tied to Beijing's retaliatory economic measures. Meanwhile, Zhejiang Airlines postponed the delivery of a brand-new Boeing 787-9, worth an estimated $120 million. The jet was originally scheduled to arrive just 3 weeks later, but rising tensions between Washington and Beijing prompted the airline to put the brakes on the deal. The financial implications for Boeing are significant. According to Bernstein Research, Boeing had planned to deliver 27 737 MAX aircraft and several additional 787 and 777F models to Chinese buyers this year alone. If these orders are canceled, the company stands to lose an estimated $1.2 billion in cash flow. Bloomberg also reported that the mutual imposition of high tariffs has dramatically raised the cost of leasing Boeing jets for Chinese airlines. In response, Chinese officials are exploring various options, including financial support packages, to help domestic carriers absorb these increased expenses. Yet despite the immediate economic fallout, some analysts believe Boeing's long-term prospects remain intact. Seth Seifman, an analyst at J.P. Morgan, stated that while China may not be essential to Boeing's near-term growth, the country will continue to be a critical part of the company's future global strategy. As speculation swirled, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian was asked about the government's alleged directive to block Boeing deliveries. His response was non-committal. "I'm unaware of the specifics. Please refer to China's relevant authorities." So far, neither the Ministry of Commerce nor the Civil Aviation Administration of China has issued an official statement on the matter. Nevertheless, experts say the symbolic message is clear. Yao Yuan Ye, a professor of international studies at the University of St. Thomas, pointed out that with only two major global aircraft manufacturers, Boeing and Airbus, China's decision to block Boeing purchases carries more symbolic weight than practical effect. Airbus often offers more competitive pricing, but Ye warns that China's deep reliance on U.S. aviation technology could ultimately hurt its own interests. Su Tsuyun, director of the Institute for National Defense and Security Research in Taiwan, believes the U.S. may take a short-term financial hit, but Chinese airlines are at greater operational risk. Many of them depend on Boeing aircraft, and a shortage of spare parts could significantly disrupt flight schedules. Interestingly, Boeing has managed to soften the blow. Aircraft that were originally destined for China are now being redirected to India and other fast-growing markets, helping the company stay afloat. According to Su, China has historically tried to balance its aircraft purchases between the U.S. and Europe to maintain diplomatic neutrality. But as relations with Washington continue to sour, Beijing is shifting more orders to Airbus. China is also working to reduce its dependence on foreign aircraft manufacturers altogether by promoting its own domestically produced jet, the C919. Developed by the Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China, COMAC, the C919 is a narrow-body jet designed to compete directly with the Boeing 737 and Airbus A320. It seats approximately 168 passengers and is considered a symbol of China's ambition to become self-sufficient in commercial aviation. Launched in 2008, the project faced multiple delays. The prototype wasn't completed until late 2015, and its first flight took place in 2017. The aircraft finally received its airworthiness certification in 2022 and began commercial operations in May 2023. However, the C919 has had a rocky start. On February 1, 2023, during a verification flight from Shanghai to Huayan via Beijing, one C919 experienced a left-engine thrust reverser failure while landing at Beijing Daxing International Airport. The aircraft had to return to Shanghai, and the subsequent flight was canceled. Later that summer, a C919 operated by Shanghai Eastern Airlines was grounded for consecutive days due to technical issues, with its flights replaced by Airbus models. Despite these setbacks, the C919 played a prominent role during the Chinese Lunar New Year travel rush, flying multiple domestic routes. Yet criticism still emerged on Chinese social media, with some questioning the aircraft's reliability. And perhaps most importantly, the C919 isn't as domestic as China claims. The jet still relies heavily on foreign components, including U.S.-made engines and flight control systems. To truly distance itself from American suppliers, China would need to partner more closely with European firms, a move that may create new political and economic complications. For now, it seems that China's retaliation against Boeing is both strategic and symbolic. It sends a message to Washington, but it also introduces substantial risk into China's own aviation sector. President Trump reacted sharply to the news, posting on Truth Social on April 15th. Interestingly, China just reneged on the big Boeing deal, saying that they will not take possession of fully committed to aircraft. China's unilateral breach of contract has strong criticism. According to Professor Ye, China may have painted itself into a corner. The Chinese government agreed to these Boeing deals, but now it's prohibiting them, he said. That opens the door for Boeing to pursue legal action. If successful, Chinese firms may face heavy financial penalties that they cannot easily escape. And if they want to remain competitive in international markets, they'll need to honor contracts with U.S. companies. In the short term, Boeing will likely continue facing challenges in the Chinese market. But over the long haul, the aviation giant may recover through expansion in other regions. China, however, faces a tougher path. Over the next 2 decades, the country is projected to account for 20% of global aircraft demand. If Boeing remains sidelined, Airbus and the still developing C919 will need to shoulder a significant burden, one that may strain resources and expose vulnerabilities. As the trade war evolves, one thing is certain: the skies are no longer a neutral zone.